Hey kids, yes, here we are at Waves, and this week we're doing things a little bit differently because I'm coming live to you straight from my house in my garden. And this week we're focusing on the ground. That's right, you got it, the ground. And I'm going to go and find some of the amazing things that God put on this ground, on our planet Earth, that He made, and I'm going to bring them straight to you now. Here we have an ant, one of the many things that are found on the ground. And if you look really, really closely, you can see that this ant is carrying another little dead insect. That's right, God made the ants. He made ants to eat up other dead insects. If God cares so much about the tiny, tiny little insects and made them just to help our environment, imagine how much He actually cares about you. That's right, so God's made things in such an incredible way. We often don't pay much attention to the little tiny things on the ground, the little insects and the little bugs and all the different types of soil that God's actually made. But He planned them just the way He wanted them, and each single little tiny creature has a role to play. If God cares so much about all those little tiny creatures, imagine how much He cares about you. Look at this spider web. Look at all the intricate details that are in there, all the fine little tiny details. God planned every single one of those fine details in our world. Imagine shaking your arms so strong that you actually make them vibrate. What about your whole body? Can anybody shake themselves so much that they start to buzz? Because that's what bees do. They vibrate part of their body to make that buzzing sound. They don't use their mouth at all. That's the way that they communicate. They spread pollen from flower to flower so more flowers grow. Has anyone seen the film Dr. Dolittle? Dr. Dolittle is about a man who can communicate with animals. Do you think animals actually communicate with each other? What about all the tiny bugs and insects that are on the ground? Do they communicate with each other? Before we start looking at them, let's have a look for ourselves. First, I want you to rub your legs together. Can you hear the noise that it makes? Listen carefully. Now I want you to rub your hands together. What made a louder noise? That's what cricket and grasshoppers actually do. They rub their arms and legs together so they can communicate with each other. Now I want you to tap your fingers on the ground. Can you hear it? Listen carefully. Now let's try with our toes and our feet. Which was a better noise? Can you think of a way that people actually communicate with each other? If you think about tapping, there's a thing called Morse code. Have a look it up, see if you understand Morse code. Insects have actually been tapping to communicate for years though, not like us humans, and God created them to do just that. Who enjoys tasting things? What would happen if I gave you a lolly or a sweet, but said you had to taste it with your feet? What do you mean you don't use your feet to taste? What do we use? That's right, we use our mouths. But do you know what uses their feet to taste? A butterfly or a bee. Not only do they use their mouths, but they also use their feet. Imagine that the God who made them sees everything that we do. God's made things in such an incredible way that we often don't pay attention to the insect and the bugs and the things on the ground. We often squish them and squash them. We get out our fly swat and we kill them, or we spray them with the insect spray, but we often don't pay attention to the fact that they're part of God's amazing creation. God planned them just the way He wanted them. If He cares so much about them, then He must care about us. So just like God gave us all the tiny things on the ground, all the ants and bees, and He created them to His plan, He also created us and the ground that we live on. Just like insects communicate in many different ways with each other, God communicates with us too. He gave us this world. Look around and enjoy it. So we could see exactly how well He made it. And He gave us Jesus to tell us how to live. He gave us His word that you know could be found in the Bible. And He freely gives us His Holy Spirit to all who ask for it. He just wants us to listen to Him and to follow Him. We can actually choose whether we want to listen to God and the way He communicates with us in the Bible and through His world, or we can choose to block out His voice, just like you might put your hands over your ears and we can block out His voice. You have that decision and choice to make. What one will you choose?